Hello everybody, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. This is our first refresh message this week. I'm Pastor Steve Green. Today is Wednesday, April 21st. And our subject is entering by the narrow gate, the way that leads to life. There's not everybody that finds it, and we want to make sure we are the ones who find it. We're looking in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, and 3 times within a few verses, Paul emphasizes the same truth regarding what God has done for us through Jesus and his crucifixion and resurrection. In chapter 5, again, we're in 2 Corinthians, verse 15. It says that he died for us. Paul said that Jesus died for us. In verse 18, he reconciled us to God. And then in verse 21, that he made him, God made Jesus, who knew no sin, to be sin for us. So he was on the cross, he died for us, he was made to be sin in order to reconcile us to God. All of those 3 thoughts fit together. We can see that very clearly. And in each case, he then connects to what our necessary response is. And this is, again, taking a key thought and emphasizing it 3 times. And because of the repetition, it becomes, I think, very clear to us. 3 different ways of saying the same thing. And verse 15, back again, 2 Corinthians 5, verse 15, he died for us that we would no longer live for ourselves. And then in verse 20, we were reconciled to God through Jesus in order that we would be reconciled to God. We need to reconcile ourselves to God now that we've been reconciled. And then in verse 21, he was made to be sin for us that we might become the righteousness of God in Christ. And so taking those 3 thoughts and putting them together, we can see that they're saying the same thing. And again, it helps us to see clearly what it is he's talking about it. So our response then to Jesus dying for us on the cross is to live righteously, is to be reconciled to him in our actions, is to be no longer living for ourselves, but living for him. So now we get, I think, a clear picture of what it means to not live for ourselves, but to live for him. It means simply to do as he said. As we mentioned in church on Sunday, if you like macaroni and cheese, it doesn't mean that you can't keep eating macaroni and cheese. It means that we learn to go about our daily life in a righteous manner. So one benefit that comes from responding this way to the gospel, to Jesus dying for us, being reconciled to him, is that we come to know, as we ought to know. We can see spiritually, we can see supernaturally, we're not deceived, we know with all discernment, we know the love of Christ, we know the truth in a manner that sets us free, we know that we're in him, we have a sound mind, we have our senses exercised to discern both good and evil. That's a tremendous benefit.